Capricorn said she all of a sudden was hearing a loud banging at her apartment. And so she said that she looked through the peephole of her apartment door and she saw that Diddy was upset. He was pacing. His body language looked like something was kind of in his hand. So Capricorn Clark opened the door and she said when she did, Diddy was still upset. She explained everything that he wore, from a button-down shirt, a sweater, that he had slacks that just happened to be ripped. And she said it exposed his underwear. But she said that Diddy had a gun in his hand whenever he was banging on her door. And so Diddy said to Capricorn Clark in a very angry way, "Why didn't you tell me who is Scott?" And as we know Scott to be Scott Cudi, a.k.a. Kid Cudi. And so Diddy told Capricorn, "Get dressed. We're going to kill this N-word."
Yo, picture this. You're half asleep scrolling your phone when your boss kicks in the apartment door with a Glock flashing and growls, "Get dressed, we're gonna smoke Kid Cudi." Wild, right?
As far as just everything with the Kid Cudi incident, Capricorn Clark explained that Cassie was seeing Kid Cudi in December of 2011. We already know this, but Cassie had asked around this time frame whether or not Kid Cudi could come on a hike with Capricorn and Cassie. And Capricorn actually said that this was going to be a bad idea because Capricorn was concerned whether or not Diddy would find out about this. And so Capricorn was explaining that Diddy had bought her phone, and so he was worried, or she was worried about Diddy seeing these text messages come through from Cassie, kind of explaining that she wanted to bring Kid Cudi on this hike that they were doing together. And so Capricorn actually explained on the stand today that she was the one who brought Cassie in to buy that burner phone, so that way it wouldn't be traced back to Cassie. That way they could talk without Diddy finding out. So that was kind of a big revelation that we learned today, because Capricorn had explained that she got Cassie this burner phone, or she went with her to Best Buy to buy this burner phone.
December 2011 was already messy. Cassie Ventura had slipped from bad boy arm candy into secret late-night FaceTime calls with Scott, Kid Cudi, Cudi. Both thought her on and off again run with Diddy was dead in the water until Capricorn Clark, the label's brand director, noticed Cassie texting on a phone she'd never seen. Cassie admitted it was a burner Clark had helped her buy just to dodge Diddy's iMessage spy games. Jealousy detonated. Diddy read one stray text, saw the name Scott, and went red-eyed. Cassie's fear spread to Cudi and Clark in seconds. Nobody realized that missed call would light the fuse for guns, cops, and a car bomb. Soon after midnight, Diddy pounded on Clark's door in sweats and half-ripped slacks, waving steel. "Why didn't you tell me who Scott is?" he barked. Clark froze. He shoved the pistol into his waistband, marched her downstairs, and climbed into an Escalade already idling with bodyguard Rue at the wheel. Destination: Kid Cudi's hillside crib. Clark frantically hit Cassie's burner from the back seat. On speaker, Cudi could hear Diddy's voice muttering about blood. Sirens shimmered in the distance. Clark feared this was a one-way ride.
Kid Cudi then said that Cassie was told by a friend, Capricorn Clark, who was also testifying at the trial, she worked as an assistant to Sean Combs, that Diddy and an associate of Diddy were actually inside Kid Cudi's house because she was waiting in the car outside. Now, this was in December 2011. Kid Cudi said that he called Diddy, he confronted him on the phone about an alleged break-in to his house, and Kid Cudi said he then called the police, who filed a report.
Cudi didn't wait. He dialed 911, then hustled outside. Minutes later, LAPD cruisers slid round the bend, spotlights sweeping the driveway. Diddy and Rue had already slipped through a side door, but the flash of squad car LEDs made them retreat. Clark stayed boxed in the SUV, hands shaking on Cassie's line while Diddy stomped back furious. He ordered her to call Cassie again to order Cudi not to snitch. Before sunrise, the trio hit a West Hollywood club as if nothing happened, but Cudi's gut knew a rematch was coming.
Then we get to January 2012, and this is key. Kid Cudi said he received a call from his dog sitter that his Porsche was on fire. Now, here are some of the images that the government submitted as evidence of the damage that Molotov cocktail left behind. Kid Cudi said he and Ventura were no longer dating at the time of this fire. Kid Cudi testified that he saw the Molotov cocktail in the front seat of the car and that police were called to his house. In one of the most candid moments of this trial thus far, when asked what his reaction was to his car being set on fire, Kid Cudi replied, "What the?" And you can fill in the blank on that one. Now, Kid Cudi said that he confronted Combs about his car. The two had a sit down to talk about Cassie, the alleged break-in, and what happened to his car. Kid Cudi testified at the end of that meeting. Kid Cudi says he stood up and shook hands with Sean Combs. Quote, "As I was shaking his hand, I said, 'What are we going to do about my car?' I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away, and I could look him square in his eye, and he looked right back at me, a very cold stare, and said, 'I don't know what you're talking about.' I said, 'Okay.' I took my hand from his, and he said, 'Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?' I was like, 'You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word?' And he said, 'Yeah.' And I was like, 'That's it.'" Cudi said that Combs was very calm during that part of the conversation. Heading into that line of testimony, Cudi had said that he thought Combs had something to do with the break-in and his car being lit on fire based on issues that they were having off of the relationship that he had had for a short period of time with Cassie. On cross-examination, the defense tried to poke holes in what Kid Cudi was saying and to raise questions about whether Diddy would actually have something to do with this alleged arson. The defense pointed out that no one has been charged in this case, even though police were called and the LAFD investigated. They also said that fingerprints and DNA were taken from the scene. Then the defense said to Kid Cudi, quote, "You know that DNA comes back to a female, right?" The rapper responded, "You said what now?" And the defense said the DNA comes back to the female.
3 weeks later, the rematch pulled up as flames. Cudi red Porsche parked outside his LA spot roared up at 3 a.m. A Molotov bottle lay melted in the passenger footwell. The LA Fire Department's investigator logged an accelerant pattern that screamed arson. Kid Cudi flew back to an ash-smeared shell and blurted, "What the?" in open court years later. But Diddy's lawyers pounced. Lab swabs found partial female DNA on the bottle, 0 prints from Combs. Prosecutors shot back that mob bosses rarely throw their own bombs. Orders traveled down the line. The jury felt the tug of war, hard proof versus motive plus menace. Capricorn Clark's week on the stand turned the Porsche into just one brick in a wall of fear. She described lie detector marathons over missing jewelry, overnight freak-off, setups with hotel cameras, and baby oil cases stacked like Costco pallets, 20-hour days for $65,000 a year, and gun threats that started day one because she'd once worked for Suge Knight. The prosecution framed it as a pattern, intimidation to guarantee silence while Combs lived out his billionaire villain fantasies. Clark called it worse than a cartel because you can't quit.
How I feel about it is this. I didn't think Kid Cudi needed to beat her. You understand? I feel like Diddy has already been crucified enough. You heard me? To the point where he didn't need Kid Cudi to do that to him, because all Kid Cudi did as a black man is let these people know that, you know, he's capable of doing these things. I didn't think Kid Cudi needed to beat her. I didn't, you know, as a black man, you know, as a woman, as a black woman, or just a woman, period, that's understandable. But as a black man, you don't go and kick a man while he's down. And I felt like it was allegedly, because even this, you know, and this is a real source for my people who went to court. Shout out to my dog Rennie, you heard me? Just got off the phone with him. He went to court today because he keep me updated on what's going on, you know? And he told me that everything was, Kid Cudi kept saying was allegedly, which means I have no valid proof that Diddy actually did that, because when Kid Cudi called Diddy, he said Diddy was just calm, he was cool, he was collective, and Diddy was like, "What are you talking about?" So as a black man, And this has nothing to do with race, but period. As a black man, I thought it was a sucker move for Kid Cudi to go there and testify. But on the other end of the double-edged sword, Kid Cudi, he never glamorized gangster. He never glamorized thug. So at the end of the day, you know, he's a poet and he's an artist. And he is also a Samaritan. So how can we as the black minority people feel a way when a Samaritan get up there and do that? So that's why I say, you know, it's a double-edged sword, is because where I'm from, that's not right. Because you don't kick a man while he's down, especially a black man coming from nothing. You understand? But on the other end of my other conscience, he quite didn't do anything wrong because he's a Samaritan. You know what I mean? Yeah, facts.
And speaking of Kid Cudi, Cassie, she testified that she actually dated Kid Cudi at one point when her and Diddy was taking a break. And she testified that she was still doing freak-offs with Diddy while dating Kid Cudi.
I mean, that lets you know, and Cassie, I got the utmost respect for you, but that lets you know Cassie ain't shit. Regardless of how that sound, if you are dating a man and still having freak-offs with another man, that lets you know that woman ain't shit. Cassie is not looking at this moment. When you ask me the question, brother, you ask me, courtesy of Kid Cudi testimony, does it make the case look like Diddy's a monster? Yes, but also if you reverse the situation, it makes Cassie looks like she was participating actually than more of being a victim. You heard me? So it's a double-edged sword case. It's wild. I ain't gonna lie to you, son. It's wild magnolia.
Defense counsel splashed glam photos of Cassie posing topless on her 2013 album sleeve and printed sweet emails she'd sent Diddy mid-romance. Their pitch: this was wild but consensual. No trafficking, just messy lovers. Outside, ex-Bad Boy rapper Chop went viral calling Kid Cudi a Samaritan snitch, barking that Cassie was a player, not a victim, and branding the whole trial systematic racism. Viewers split. Courtroom spectators saw an empire on trial. Rap forums argued over street loyalty. Either way, every lurid detail kept clicks climbing. March 2024, Homeland Security vans hit Diddy's Miami and LA mansions, hauling off hard drives, prescription stashes, and hidden camera rigs. 6 months later, a grand jury stapled racketeering, sex trafficking, kidnapping, arson, bribery, the works. Now, May 2025, jurors sit through celeb cameos. Kid Cudi likening Diddy to a Marvel supervillain, Cassie wiping tears, Clark gripping the rail. Usher and Dawn Richard are rumored to follow. Brands have already ghosted Combs. Streaming numbers dip. Bad Boy catalog negotiations stalls. 2 predicate crimes, kidnap plus arson, can lock racketeering for life. But that lone shard of female DNA dangles like an eject button for the Porsche charge. If defense shows enough uncertainty, jurors could split RICO counts, even while convicting on lesser assault. Meanwhile, Cassie's $20 million civil payout, Cudi meme-ready testimony, and Chop's street critique swirl TikTok feeds by the hour. So ask yourself, was this a jealous mogul ordering mob-level mayhem or a toxic love triangle stretched into federal theater? The jury sequestered, but the comment section's wide open. Drop your take below. This saga's nowhere near cooled off.